Hi, and welcome to week 9, the first week of the second section of the course. Hopefully, you've already looked at the introductory section that lays out how the course is organized. You will want to focus on the modules page. Everything that you'll need for each module, other than the actual physical copy of your book discussion book, is in there, all of the readings. Um, I'll go through this week in more detail than I generally will, just because it's the first one. But you should be fine with the organization. If you go to the modules page, everything you need for that week is in the module for that week. This week we are looking at award-winning books, which I think is a good place to start because when you're looking at award winners, you're going to know that you're looking at something that someone has found to be a work of quality. The reading, so you each have your book discussion books, which, I usually list them in the content, and I didn't this week, but it's Echo, um, The War That Saved My Life, You Bring the Distant Near, and The Hate You Give. And all four of those have won awards in the past year or two. And the reading, so we're looking at specifically the Newbery, but that kind of is the way that all, you know, any award winners, there's always some contention. Did this deserve it? Did this not? But I think that that's an interesting look. And Anita Silvey is a expert who we should be aware of anyway. Then, and I have you starting with Roger Sutton, which I just reread this morning because I was wondering, geez, why did I choose this again? And the first page of that is so much me as a teenage reader. Very much a goody-goody, but and I was in a very conservative environment, and so I got all my naughtiness from books. It did not turn me into a degenerate, which is nice, but there's an interesting perspective on books, kids reading books that may not be good for them, but do allow them to sort of venture into behavior that they wouldn't actually take part in a safe environment, and we'll talk about that later in the class. But anyway, so we're going to start with that because that just it's written more from a parent educator perspective rather than from a teen perspective, but it does give a nice look at a little, very broad strokes history of young adult, but also what it's like to be a teenage reader. All right, so that's the main point, is award winners this time, and that's going to be the focus of your discussion. I also mention how diversity, is something that is folded into this course and has become, more and more important as more and more people are being aware of the lack of diversity in the past. And a couple of the articles deal with that: the Publishing Perspective on Diversity and Children's Books Still in All White World, which are, from 2014, so a couple years ago, when I think even more of an issue in children's and young adult publishing now. And then Serving Conservative Teens, which I found to be interesting and thought I would throw it in there because diversity covers a number of different bases, all of which we'll look at some point in this course. So from looking at I just reread your little biographical thing that you posted at the beginning of the course, and a lot of you seem to already have a real strong background in middle grade and YA, which is great. And this course, I will probably not be teaching you anything, but the idea behind it is to build a scaffolding so that you have time to explore middle grade and YA. Depending on what area you're in, I know most of you are working in the field already. So if you're in a middle school or an elementary school, you're going to want to focus on, middle grade, basically 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then if you're in a high school, YA will probably be more your wheelhouse. So feel free to focus on that when you're doing your exploration. Let's see. Okay, so the way that the course is laid out, and I've already mentioned this, there's your reading, which involves your book and the articles that I've posted. You do not have to read every article. There are some that I say, make sure you read. Others, I'll say, I also put in, so whatever you need to get through the discussion, to have enough to talk about, or whatever, interests you, feel free to focus on that. You do have to read your book group book in its entirety. Even if you hate it, just buckle down. You can do it. Because that will be the basis of your discussion, your book discussion group. So there's the general discussion, which is split in half because it's such a big class. So based on which book you read, You'll be in a general discussion for that. But the book discussion, everybody's in the same one. Just post the title of your book, put the title of your book at the top of your post so people know if somebody's trying to avoid spoilers on a specific book, they won't read those. You're only required to take part in the discussion on the book discussion on your specific book, but feel free if you've read other things to take part. You can also read both general discussions if you want, if it's a topic that you're really interested in, but you'll only get graded on the discussion that you are assigned to. Speaking of discussion, a couple of people have already posted nice, rich posts in the discussion. One thing that I want to remind you of is the way that it's graded is by post rather than by content, and it's in the YA rubrics, which you should all have memorized by now. So if you have a post that has like 3 distinct sections, do 3 distinct posts, because an individual post is only worth 1, 2, or 3 points, and it just makes it easier. Also makes it easier with where we're doing, oh my goodness, I've lost the word, where we're doing threaded responses. You know, if somebody wants to respond to one section of yours, if it's all in one big block, then you're going to get a ton of threads that are more difficult to follow. So if you have a single post and then people can thread on that, and then you put another post and people can thread on that, that's fine. It makes it easier for the discussion and also easier for grading. All right, so you've got your discussion group. The next thing is your blog. What that entails, and several of you have already got them up, a couple that I've seen before, nicely done. So with your blog, all you're doing is going out and, go to a library, go to a bookstore, go to, look in journals, library journals, and find books that appeal to you. I'd like you to at least 2, you can do 3 to 5 a week, and you must, minimum of 3, and probably no more than 5. I'll read 5. And there's a little template for what information I want you to put in the rubric. And I'd like you to, hold the book so you can look at the art, so that you can, see the heft of it and stuff. If you're having a bad week and you're not getting out anywhere where there are new books for you to look at and you just want to use journals, you can do that 1 week or 2, but I'd like you to, where did you find it? But on the shelf, ideally at some point. So that's the blog, and that is just a 3-point thing, but it's so that you're going out looking at new titles on your own, and feel free to mention them in the discussion too if you find something that's under the topic of the week that you think is specifically spectacularly terrific. All right, then your response piece, and a lot of people are nervous about the response piece. It's an opportunity for us to look at middle grade and YA sort of with an eye towards literary criticism. There's a section in the rubric where I give possibilities for topics, but also feel free to determine your own topic, however you want to respond to the work. And this is where you're really, in the discussion you'll talk about it conversationally, but you're not going to put a big manifesto up there. This is your manifesto. This is how you whatever struck you about the book. So, and that's just I call it an essay sometimes. It's really a response piece. If you don't want to do all the writing and you'd prefer to do some other kind of format, that's fine. Just make sure that you show a careful reading of the book. I believe that is everything that I need to tell you. So the blog, and just keep an eye forward towards the final project, because if you have an idea in your head when you're doing your exploration, maybe some of your exploration books will be books that you'll want to use in your final project. So just be aware of it. I don't want it to come and sneak up on you, because the last week that we have is a short week. And so you don't want to be caught with, I think it's a 4-day week, and you don't want to be caught having to do the whole project in those 4 days. All right. So that's everything. Gosh, I feel like I had another thing, but apparently I do not. Final project, books, yeah, we're good. Okay, the discussion. I don't jump into the discussion very much, just because I really like it to be sort of student, based. I want it to be what you're thinking, because if I'm posting, then it's like, oh, I'm an expert and this is what it really is, which is not necessarily the case. So if somebody asks a question and you have a theory about it, feel free to jump in with that. If somebody asks a question and there's crickets, I'll eventually jump in and give my 2 cents. But I'm also curious about what other people think, and especially where so many of you are in the fields, your ideas are valid and can be a help to other people in the class. So This is longer than I intended. Hopefully I won't be this, verbose next time, but who knows? I'll be putting up a video every Saturday or before Saturday for that week. And I'll see you on the discussion boards, and I look forward to your work. And please email me in Canvas if you have any questions. Have a great week. Bye.